Hi, I'm Mike Papantonio, and this is America's Lawyer. Drug makers are showering doctors with cash to get them to prescribe drugs like Ozempic for weight loss, even as the hazards, side effects continue to emerge every day. We're going to get you the details. Facebook is fighting a federal rule that prevents them from selling the data of minors, more proof that social media sites are not healthy for children. And Kevin McCarthy, well, he's gunning for Matt Gaetz, as you might expect. He's telling a reporter last week that the Florida congressman should end up in jail. Doesn't look good for Matt Gaetz. All that and more, it's coming up. Don't go anywhere. America's Lawyer starts right now. A major new report has revealed that the drug makers behind Ozempic and Wegovy are doling out huge sums of cash to doctors to get them to increase their prescriptions. This comes as more and more side effects of the weight loss drugs become evident, and it's getting worse. It's not getting better. You know, this is like deja vu of the opioid case that our firm handled. I mean, we were the lead people in that lawsuit. But we saw the same thing. We saw these doctors who could be bought. I mean, you know, basically prostitute themselves. That's what they were. I mean, you know, pay me enough money and I'll go out and say whatever you want me to say. These doctors that look like they're from Harvard and Yale and Wake Forest, all over the country, that they pay them enough money and they'll go out and say whatever the hell the company once said. We saw that with opioids. We see it all the time, right?
Yeah, and it's even more like the opioid case than people realize, because with opioids, what the companies were doing is they were targeting these pain management clinics, you know, where every day the doctors dealt with nothing but people who came in with pain. And what better way? Like, hey, you got pain, here's an opiate. And with the Wegovy and Ozempic, these drug makers are targeting these, you know, weight loss clinics where the doctors specialize in those kinds of prescriptions. So it's, you know, it's like shooting fish in a barrel for these people. So it's not just, you know, your little down the street doctor that you go to when you have a cold. It's these almost factory farm doctors that just get people on one specific issue.
Yeah, Nova is spending above $25 million, $30 million to go buy these people. That's what they're doing.
Yeah.
They're just, it's the equivalent of going out and purchasing a little poodle. I really like this poodle. And that's what they are. I mean, they're prostitute poodles, I guess is what you call them. And they'll say whatever has to be said. They'll make up whatever kind of literature. The company will say, hey, we have this that we wrote. Would you sign it? Yeah, I'll sign it. They're called key opinion leaders. And then they show up and they have this thing that's created by the industry. They put their name on it. And for $1 million, these guys are going, well, hell yeah, we'll do that. But when you're spending that kind of money, there is no shame, is there?
No, and what happens in many of these cases, like for example, Reuters pointed out there's one doctor that's taken personally over $1 million from these group, and he runs a massive weight loss clinic. And what they've done is they say, hey, listen, there's a big symposium coming up. A lot of other weight loss doctors are going to be there. We want you to be the keynote speaker. We're going to pay you tens of thousands of dollars just to speak.
And they sponsor that event.
Right.
Yeah, right.
And, you know, all your meals are covered. We've got you in this beautiful luxury resort. This one's in Chicago. The next one will be in Hawaii. You know, just promising all these great things, tons of money. Oh, and by the way, your speech is already written because we've taken the liberty using your own data and, of course, some of our own to tout our product. And these doctors, because they have no conscience, no scruples, they jump at it and say, absolutely, honey, pack the bags. We're going out of town for a week.
Well, actually, one of the doctors, Ryan, R-Y-A-M, said there's nothing wrong with money. Look, we give a Nobel Prize in economics, right? So money can really help. It can help promote the good of the world. People are getting sick, and this freak who gets paid enough money to say this is willing to say it. But you know, the truth is, what they're tapping into a market. Here's the numbers, if you believe what's out there. what, 764 million people in America obese?
Well, across the globe.
Excuse me, across
Yeah.
the globe obese. So they're looking, this is a big market they can
That's
tap.
probably the biggest market for any drug, really.
Yeah. Then the second thing I thought was really important is they asked Nova, why are you charging 3 times as much for the same drug in America that you're charging overseas? 3 times. And basically it's, well, we can get away with it. There's nobody asking questions, so we can make it 3 times as higher. I mean, look, I'm going to be taking depositions in this case. I can't wait. I mean, it's going to be the same thing we see all the time. They can do anything they want to do to hide the clinicals or hide the doc. It doesn't make any difference. We're going to get to it. But we're going to then find out that they knew real bad stuff would happen. You're going to find the clinicals showed them that. And then even if we find really bad conduct and give it to the Department of Justice, they're not going to do anything. Give it to the FDA. The FDA is signing off on this.
Yeah.
I mean, talk about that.
Yeah, that's probably one of the most, concerning parts of all of these stories we do like this is the FDA says, okay, you can probably use it for weight loss, even though it is a diabetes drug. We're going to be okay with that. And yeah, we're going to say that it does promote weight loss. We're going to drag our feet a little bit on putting any kind of black box warning on this about, potential stomach paralysis or, pancreatic issues that are starting to be reported. Mm-hmm. There's no silver bullet for taking a pill to lose weight and not have side effects. It simply does not exist. I don't know that science will ever get there.
Let me tell you what these freaks are doing now. You remember this from opioids. This is where it really gets creepy. In opioids, they had to invent a need, okay? So they came up with this chart, happy face down to real sad face. Are you number 1? Are you number 2? All the way to 10. The industry came up with this goofy chart. And they would give it to the doctor and say, Doc, ask them what kind of pain they're in. And if they're up here at 4, then start giving them opioids. They're trying to do the same thing here. Doc, what does real obesity look like? Let's talk about their lifestyle, blah, blah, blah. And here are the standards. Well, it just so happens that the people writing that up are from the industry. And then, so in comes these doctors. I swear to God, they'll work for anything. Dr. Ryan, who I talked to, Kaplan. These folks, it's almost like there's no shame because they're going to sell this, and then what's going to happen is the same thing that happened with Fen-Phen. Same thing that happened with opioids. It's not as serious as opioids, but people are going to die, but they're not going to be 150 people dying a day. But there's going to be a lot of life lost here by the time this is over.
And another thing actually mentioned in the story too, some patients are reporting is muscle loss. Actually losing muscle, which can be devastating for any older people taking these medications trying to lose some weight.
Here's the risk: serious nausea to where they can't hold anything down. I mean, that's not like I'm just going to puke now. They can't hold anything down.
Right.
A muscle loss that's debilitating, that actually immobilizes that person. Intestinal blockage, left and right. Suicidal thoughts. That's coming up in the European studies. It takes years to uncover. The other thing, though, is what they call the Ozempic face. Have you heard this?
I haven't heard of
To
that.
women that are taking it, you can look at them and you can tell their face is gaunt. They look older. They look by years. They look older, and they don't. It's almost as if they don't realize what's happening to them. But people that haven't seen them for a while look at them and they say, "My God," and they're calling it Ozempic face.
It's terrifying, and it is because, look, the holy grail of Big Pharma is a weight loss drug that doesn't kill people.
Right.
And right now, this is the closest they've come. I think they think they're even closer than with Fen-Phen. But with all of these reports that are coming out, no, this is dangerous. And I think what people need to do is if you get on one of these drugs, because listen, they work. You're gonna lose weight, but you could lose,
your muscles,
the ability to
your
lose your legs.
intestines, where you look like some
stomach.
oddball because somebody can look at your face and say, "Oh, well, you're on Ozempic. That's how bad this is."
Yeah.
And you want to say this to the woman: take a look at an old picture, take a look at your face now, and you are, believe it or not, a member of the Ozempic face family.
Well, ask if your doctor tries to put you on this. Ask them if they have taken any money from Novo or.
Well,
any of
let
these
them know
other
that I'll be
companies.
suing them at some point. It's just a matter of when. I mean, the people we're really going to be suing are these clinics.
Yeah.
The reason we can do that is because if I have a clinic that's doing this, say in Florida, okay, and there's an MDL, federal MDL put together, and I don't want to go to the federal MDL. Well, I can sue them in Florida because they have an organization here that I can sue that's using their product. It's just the way you've kind of forum shop. Where do I want to be with this case? And these places, just like we see all the time, are just opening up themselves up to lawsuits. These doctors are too.
Yeah.
Nikki Haley is surging in the polls, and part of the reason that's happening is because corporate America is rallying behind that. The CEO of J.P. Morgan even came out and told Democrats to get behind Haley in a recent interview. Well, why? Okay, we've talked about it before. She's a war pimp. I mean, this is a woman that I love this story. I mean, it's not our story. I think I forgot what source did it. Intercept maybe.
Yeah, about her
Lever.
all the ties.
Yeah.
To...
So no, well, the ties to the weapons industry. But I love this story where she has no money. Okay, before she runs, she has no money. She doesn't own anything. She has no stock. She's basically in the hole.
She had
almost
$15,000.
$15,000, and that wasn't even free and clear because she owed so much money. So and then 5 years pass, and then she's in a $5 or $6 million mansion, and she's got plenty of money. How does that happen? Pick it up.
Well, it comes from her ties to the defense industry. She has been their go-to person. She has helped on the boards of these groups, and they just pay these people, because they're in positions of power, exorbitant sums of money to do nothing other than give them access.
Coke Network, that's a big bet. If you follow the money on Coke, wherever it goes, stay away.
Yeah.
Because it's grubby, ugly money, right?
Yeah, they did, and the Koch network came out about a week or so ago, I guess it was, and they formally announced, we obviously hate Trump. We love all the policies. We have no policy differences with him, but he personally is just a bad, gross guy. We don't like him. But this, Nikki Haley, she's the wave of the future. They're telling us she could beat Biden. Strangely enough, new poll this week, she, in a head-to-head matchup, 4 points ahead on Biden.
No kidding.
Biden's back ahead of Trump, but Haley's ahead of Biden.
Okay, well, I mean,
So
the truth is, if we
getting
get her,
weird.
we get her. She's Dick Cheney with high heels.
Yeah.
Is the way she's been described. That's all she is. Dick Cheney would have bombed, named the place, he would have dropped a bomb, he would have done it. She's the same way.
Yeah.
You talk about the weapons industry getting a gift if she comes in, buddy, it's a gift.
Well, and that's why Jamie Dimon from J.P. Morgan
yeah.
is pushing it
Oh,
too,
yeah.
because, hey, what's good for the war industry is
Yeah.
good for the banking
Oh,
industry.
absolutely.
So he says, Democrats, take a second look at
Yeah.
her. She's moderate.
Yeah.
But what he really means is she'll protect the status quo, which is making sure corporations make tons of money.
Yeah, ignore all the missiles behind her. Just ignore her relationship with an industry that keeps growing at geometric levels. That we don't even have control over the weapons industry. What was the story we did last week where the Pentagon tried to audit themselves and they were $1 trillion short, but they said, but we're doing better.
Yeah.
Well, that's part of that whole picture, isn't it?
Yeah.
She's going to really give them more money. Facebook's parent company, Meta, wants to sell your child's data to the highest bidder, and they're prepared to go to court to fight the order that says they aren't allowed to do that. Wow. Okay, pick it up.
Yeah, this is a particularly disturbing story because several years ago, you had the Federal Trade Commission actually do something good. And
Rare.
they came out and said, okay, social media companies, specifically you, Facebook, because you're the worst, you can't sell data of users under the age of 18. Simple enough.
What are the reasons for that? I mean, give the common sense reasons for
The
that.
common sense reason is these are people that cannot legally enter into a contract to say you're allowed to sell their data. I mean, it's basic, pre-law stuff there. So the FTC says you can't do it. It's dangerous. They're minors.
They become victims.
Yeah.
I mean, they become trafficking victims. There's a whole host of problems that freak understands, and he's still sicking the lawyers on the Federal Trade Commission. As you used to point out, I've never seen in the last 10 years the Federal Trade Commission do anything really meaningful. This is meaningful.
Right.
I mean, he's trying to say there's a problem here. We got to solve it.
And Facebook says, how dare you we have, 13-year-olds on our app. And by God, we want to sell their data. We want to sell it to Amazon. We want to sell it to, JCPenney or whoever it is out there. They'll buy this data. And then, of course, once the data gets out there, it's going to get into the hands of people that should not have it, like you point out.
Well, it's the equivalent. This is good description. What's happening here is the equivalent. We handled the tobacco case. We got that whole thing rolling right here in Florida. And one thing that we saw, it would be the equivalent of the FTC. It's like big tobacco trying to gut the FDA. Remember?
Yeah.
Okay, they did everything they could to gut the FDA and say all this stuff about cancer is meaningless. It's a bunch of lawyers, it's ambulance chasers. Well, this is the equivalent here. This is the industry that wants to gut the FTC, which is the only people at the reins. Nobody else is in charge, right?
Yeah, and again, this is a good decision by the FTC, but listen, Facebook's probably going to get some great lawyers, scumbag type, but good at what they do at protecting corporations. This is one that they could win.
Oh,
and this is people, y'all got to watch what your kids are doing. Because
Well, I love that at least Edward Markey comes out and says, really? This is this is deplorable that you know that you're victimizing children by doing this. But Elizabeth Warren, I can't believe you're doing this. Who are the voices that are speaking up? Those are the only two big voices I'm seeing right now. How about you?
No. I mean, this is
Markey
kind
and
of
Elizabeth Warren.
And they're great people. Could be running for president.
Two great Democrats that should be running for president. I totally agree. Amazon founder Jeff Bezos is getting into the real estate business, and it's very bad news for home buyers. Bezos' plan would jack up home prices and put ownership out of reach of millions of Americans. I mean, the chances of an emerging Generation Z buying a home right now, what the statistics I saw were almost impossible.
Right. And it is. And Jeff Bezos sees what these other groups are doing, what BlackRock is doing, what the rest of Wall Street is doing.
Right.
And Bezos says, well, hey, Amazon can get into that. So they've made this new company called, Arrived. Arrived is the name of the company. And what it is it allows just your average everyday investors, you can put in $100 here, maybe $500 there, and you own a share of this single family home that Jeff Bezos has bought.
Yeah.
So then, you own 0.5% of it.
If that, you own 0.000 because Bezos has put $25 million in to your little $100.
So then when it sells, you get that, percentage of the sale price, and people think, hey, this is a good idea. But it's gambling on the market with these homes because they go in, they make a couple of small minor improvements that really don't mean anything, and they jack up the price by $250,000.
Well, they want these people to be renters. We want a nation of renters. We don't want a nation of homeowners. I wish I could call on the statistic. It's kicking around in my head, but the chances of a Generation Z or even a millennial owning their own home right now is so diminished. And so they're counting on that. The economy is such that somebody trying to move into the job market, if you're Generation Z or a millennial, it's very, very tough to make the kind of money it takes to buy a house. So he says, that's a great opportunity. People are suffering. Let me come on in and give them rental property. So it's a buy-up of rental property. We talked about this before. We've done a couple of stories on this where Wall Street's trying to buy everything, close down entire neighborhoods where it's their rental property.
Yeah, right? They've almost, in some areas, bought entire cities at this point. And you can't buy those homes anymore, but you can surely pay your little monthly fee to live here until we say, okay, you've got to get out. We're going to make room for somebody better.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, obviously the wealthy people like we had talked about, they're building their own special city high up in the mountains with their golden gates that nobody can get in.
Yeah, wow. Great movie there, isn't it? A major settlement's been reached between the companies responsible for PFAS contamination, the state of Ohio, with the companies agreeing to fork over more than $100 million to help cover the damages of their forever chemicals. Full disclosure, it was our case. It was this law firm's case. We're doing this all over the country. We're cities and water municipalities are being paid for the damages they've done to the water system. So this is one of them that just took place, and we just finished it up last week. It's a lot of work. Some other folks involved with this, obviously the the folks that are the political vehicle there in Ohio was so good. They were so good to work with. Sometimes you work with these entities all over the country, and you see some of them are just so dysfunctional they can't accomplish. These folks, the politicians involved in this, did a remarkable job. And our co-counsel did a great job with that too.
Yeah, this is truly a great success story, and it's hopefully the first of many, right? Okay, so we're dealing with Ohio right now, and typically what we've seen on the national stage, you talk about the politics from Ohio on the national stage, not exactly.
Sometimes they're problematic, right?
Yeah, but so it's good to hear that at the state level, you've got people that actually know how to come together and get things done when it's time to get things done.
Yeah, they understand they're there to try to protect these consumers that are using water that can kill them. And so Ohio says, hell no, we need to fix this. And so we handle these cases all over the country, water facilities, counties, cities, municipalities. And sometimes you have politicians that are in charge of it that stand out, and this is one of them. I mean, they did not play. They said, look, y'all messed up really bad, and our voters out here, our consumers are at risk.
Well, and with these PFAS contaminations, it's always important to remind people, we're talking about multiple different types of cancers. We're talking about endocrine disruptors. We're talking about hormonal disruptors, birth defects. I mean, it runs the gamut of some of the worst that you can see from chemical contamination.
But we found all that out in the early cases that I was trying up in Ohio, up in Columbus, Ohio. Yeah. And that unrelated to this was kind of the second phase of it. But I'm proud of these. I'm proud of these folks because you understand I'm so often critical of how politics works, and I love to see when it actually works. 2024 could be the year of third-party candidates, and right now the candidates are not running as Democrats or Republicans, are seeing their highest poll numbers since Ross Perot in the early 1990s. If this trend continues, I mean, it could make for some interesting developments next year. Go ahead and pick it up.
Yeah, what we've seen now is you've got, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who's, polling, depending on the poll you're looking at, up to 20% nationally in a three-way race, 20%. Cornel West, actually not doing quite as well as I thought he would do, but he's still got several percentage points. Liz Cheney this week is now saying, you know what, I might get in. Joe Manchin might get in. Mitt Romney.
Liz Cheney, what the hell? I mean, why is she still even around? Have we forgot about her dad? Have we forgot about how she supported her dad?
Yeah.
Supported her dad that was responsible for millions of deaths. It just freaks me out a little bit that the American public forgets so easily because Liz Cheney is willing to come out and be critical of Trump.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden,
she hates Trump. I hate Trump.
Of course.
She sat down with Rachel Maddow. Rachel Maddow that we used to know would be disgusted by Rachel Maddow of today.
Oh, of course.
She would do segment after segment attacking her.
We used to do that. We did segment after segment with Rachel Maddow about years ago. I had a little segment that I did almost every morning.
Yeah.
And I don't recognize it anymore. Anyway, so I get a interesting thing about Bobby. Bobby, people know that he's a personal friend of mine. And somebody sends me a note, and so now he's leading, if a unity party comes together, you understand? If you have all of these independents that are running as independents say, hey, we're now a unity party, that's dangerous. So they're really doubling up on their attack. I had somebody send me something that called my friend an ass monkey. I mean, really, I'm sure that they were deep thinkers. But the point is, ass monkey or not, he's causing some real stir in this business now, in this political.
And listen, look, Bobby was a part of the founding of Ring of Fire as well.
Yeah, he helped start this program.
And there's plenty of things like I obviously totally disagree with him with. I know you disagree with plenty of them. But if, let's call back to an earlier story. We're talking about Nikki Haley. What if Bobby Kennedy teams up with Nikki Haley? Because obviously she can't beat Trump in the primary, but you run as an independent, form a ticket together.
Yeah.
Suddenly you've got a juggernaut almost. I mean, something like that together, and you're shaking up the 2024 race.
But think about even bigger than that, a unity party.
Yeah.
where you're saying that this is, look, we're independents out here. We're disenchanted with the Republicans. We think the Democrats are nuts. Biden doesn't have a chance. This can continue to pick up a pace. And all those people that were saying, Bobby's going to disappear. Well, no, he's not going to disappear.
No. And look, we've talked plenty of times, too, about the need for more parties in races. Because right now, if you want to have an impact in politics, you have to shoehorn yourself into either being a Democrat or a Republican. And most people in this country, even the ones who do shoehorn themselves in, admit, I'm mostly like them, but I'm not 100%.
Right.
And they do things I absolutely despise, but it's my only two options.
Yeah.
We need the door to be kicked open.
The only talking point is Bobby on vaccines, which the critics really don't even understand what his position was. Bobby on this, Bobby on, he's some kind of, conspiracy nut. He's anything but that. I've known the guy personally for 30 years. I've tried cases with him. He's a real deal. And for some jerkwater who probably knows nothing about him, probably has an IQ of room temperature, has an understanding of politics almost non-existent. Bobby is an ass monkey. Really? Well, let's see. Let's see as this thing develops. I think it's going to be, people are going to be shocked as this continues to pick up. Former House Speaker Kevin McCarthy is ready for his nemesis, Matt Gaetz, to face the same fate as George Santos. And McCarthy recently told a reporter that Gaetz may have committed some crimes that put Santos to shame. Wow, there is nobody in the country that knows as much about the Gaetz story as you do, so I'm going to hush. You take over.
This, the House Ethics Committee, which is the group, by the way, that did take down Santos when they finally released their report showing all the horrible things he did, and then they expelled him a few days later. One of the most outspoken people about not expelling Santos was this guy. Yeah. Matt Gaetz was heartbroken, and he said, how could we just get rid of people based on simple allegations and no convictions?
Well,
it sounds exactly like somebody in that position would say, because look, Matt Gaetz somehow, some way, did not get charged by the Department of Justice. They had multiple cooperating witnesses. They had the corroborating evidence. They had everything. I mean, Joel Greenberg, the guy who did go down for this, his lawyer even came out after this and said, there's no way. After what we gave them, how can you not criminally charge him?
Yeah, well, we see it all the time, of course. We talk about this all the time with corporations, CEOs who create manslaughter. I mean, they murder people with the products they put out, knowing it. Well, opioids, 150 people died a day. Nobody went to prison. This is kind of a similar thing. Who's in power? What strings can you pull? But he was worried about McCarthy, wasn't he? Gaetz was worried about McCarthy, but what's happened here now is he's got McCarthy really, really pissed off. And McCarthy has some time on his hands right now.
He does.
He's not having to worry about that day-to-day stuff. McCarthy, probably my prediction is he will pick him apart little by little. But the question I have, why would he have done that? When you have a background like that, why do you put yourself in the limelight and now you're the target? It's almost like, who's the mayor of New York? What's the African-American?
Adam.
Adam.
Is it Adam? Eric Adams?
Eric Adams. Okay,
Yeah.
so Eric Adams, he's doing great. He's everybody's Democratic hero, right? Until he starts saying, Biden, you're an idiot for what you're doing with immigration. You're killing New York City. Remember that?
Yeah.
All of a sudden, you can't pick up a daily paper where they're not looking at something new with Eric Adams. May be true, but it was all quiet up until that time. He started criticizing the administration. This is the same kind of deal. I mean, if he knew he had all that in his closet, why do you come out like that?
Well, and that's the thing that really does strike me as odd, because Matt Gaetz knew he was facing the House Ethics Committee investigation, which, according to McCarthy and according to independent reports, they have expanded it. They're now looking at new things that Gaetz may have allegedly done. And McCarthy says he's seen some of it, and it's worse than Santos, is what he says.
On the Senate side, why the hell is Menendez still there? How does a Democrat that complains about Santos or Gaetz, how does a Democrat complain about that when you got Menendez still there? I mean, even Fetterman saying, what the hell?
I do love that Fetterman is out there every day like, hey, can we get rid of this idiot?
I mean, he's a criminal.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not even going to say alleged. He's a damn criminal. There's enough information. I prosecuted long enough to know they've got everything they need on the guy. But nevertheless, and his wife, oh, by the way, but nevertheless, he's going to just kind of hang around the Senate and hope everybody forgets. And the Democrats don't seem too upset by that. So how do you attack the Republicans about the same issue?
It is. You do see a lot of people try to struggle with that and kind of trip over
well,
themselves.
What's the best answer? Do you have an answer for it?
I think you're a lot like Donald Trump in that regard, because if Trump, he always says like it's a political persecution. They're out to get me. Okay, no, it's about justice, but. If it's strictly about justice, you can't care about party ID, which means you got to care about it with Menendez. You got to care about it with Santos, with Gates, with Adams, with any of these people. Corruption is corruption. It transcends party lines.
Right.
And everybody has to be held accountable.
It used to. I think we've become so polarized and so tribal, it doesn't make any difference anymore.
Right.
So anyway, that's the state of affairs here in 2023, end of the year. Thank you for joining me, okay?
Thank you.
That's all for this week, but all these segments are going to be posted right here on this channel in the coming week. So make sure you subscribe. I'm Mike Papantonio, and this has been America's Lawyer, where we tell you stories every week that corporate media won't tell you because their advertisers won't let them tell the story. They'll pull their advertising money or their political connections to the Republican Party or the Democratic Party. They won't allow for it. They'll get chastised for doing stories like we do. But you know what? We don't care. We're going to do the stories anyway. So hopefully we'll see you next time.
Over the years, a lot of people have asked us what Mike Papantonio does when he's not practicing law. Well, he stays pretty busy, and here is just a snapshot of everything that Pap is involved in when he's not in the courtroom.